Je suis Lemon. I'm Honey. Nice to see you yet again. And I'm back with another tutorial. So today, we're going to be learning how to backward skate, okay? So let me go ahead and show that to you first. So this is what it looks like. Nice and easy backward skate. In backward skating, I think it's most commonly taught first to kind of do this bubbling. I'd say that if you're not comfortable bubbling forward first, I wouldn't try bubbling backward. But once you get this first step, that would be the next step in the progression. So for beginners, what I would recommend, how I usually teach people, how I've taught all my girls how to skate backwards is this. So when you're skating forwards, your feet are pointed out, right? So your toes are kind of doing like this V shape, right? So when you skate, you're pushing out, right? So in backward skating, it's going to be the complete opposite. Instead of your feet pointed out, they're going to be pointed kind of in. So instead of a V, you kind of get more of a triangle shape, right? So I'm going to show it to you sideways, just so I have some space to move back. So my feet are pointed kind of in a V. What I'm going to do is take little baby penguin steps, okay? So these are what the penguin steps look like. You just pick up your feet and then let your wheels do the work. Take your little penguin steps, make sure you have a little bit of a bend. You know, you're a lot more susceptible to falling when you're kind of doing like this Frankenstein walk. So when you're skating backwards, you want to have like a nice little bend. You want to keep your shoulders up and take your little penguin steps, making sure to keep that inward V. See that? You really don't have to push too much. Your wheels will kind of do the roll for you. So all you gotta do, pick up your feet, take a little step backwards. Once you get comfortable, then you can start adding a little bit more push to it to go faster. I'm going in a straight line. Keeping your feet angled in ever so slightly, little steps. So that would be the first step in the progression. Once you get comfortable, you know, you're rolling backward, you got over the fear of just skating backwards, you're gonna bump it up a little, right? This is when I would recommend doing the bubbles after. So basically what you're doing is making a circle in and out with your thighs. The important thing to remember with bubbles or braids or whatever you call them is that the further your feet are apart, the less control you have, because when you're going into that bubble forwards or backwards, if the further you are out, the more thigh strength it takes to bring it all the way in. Versus if you have your feet under your shoulders, you have a lot more control, it's a lot easier to do the bubbles. You don't need as much thigh strength. This is where, on my baby skaters, this is where you build the muscle to do a lot more advanced moves. This is where you get those awesome thighs from doing bubbles, from bending your knees. And then the third step in the progression is going to be bubbles with kind of crossing your feet or hyperextending your feet over. So instead of just coming to the middle, you're going to go ahead and follow through over and then cross back out. So over, cross back in, back out, cross, out. This takes a lot more thigh strength. That's why it's higher up in the progression. And really being able to have one foot in front of the other. Here, cross, use your thigh muscles. Same thing backwards. Here, cross over, back. And you really want to make sure you're practicing both sides, getting the right in front as well as getting the left in front, because you're going to build more muscle on one leg than the other, and you don't want a lopsided butt. Then for my more advanced skaters, my skaters who kind of already know how to skate backwards, I would focus on skating with one foot in kind of whatever variation you want to do, whether it be a liberty, making sure that your foot goes all the way up to your knee and your toes pointed, or it be an Arab basque, making sure you have that back curve, your shoulders are up to you. So you really want to make sure for this one that all your weight is in this base leg and you're really squeezing okay? So I'm right-handed, so I like to balance on my right foot. So when you're doing a liberty, if you're doing an arabesque, if you're doing a scale, what have you, you always want to go all out. You want to make sure it's pretty. So with your liberty, skating in one foot, you really want to make sure it's all the way up to your kneecap with your toe pointed, right? So you can add a little roll into it. You can go up, knee up, and with your arms, it's kind of optional. Some people like to do a T, some people like to do high V, some people just keep their hands on their hips. So I'm gonna choose to put my hands on my hips. So when you're going, knee up, hold it, squeeze your butt. Do this with both feet to make sure we're even, right? Here we go, holding it, pointing toe, pointing toe. Here, hold, point toe. So this is where a lot of fun, creative variations come around, and where you kind of express yourself individually. Personally, I like to go with more of an arabesque when I'm doing pretty things. Liberties I like to do when I'm like kind of stalling, but it's up to individual preference. I'm gonna go ahead and show you what an arabesque backwards kind of looks like. So you get a little speed. Okay, so to reiterate, the progressions we have are, so for beginners, you're gonna start with penguin steps, okay? So all you do, little bent knees, you're just gonna point your toes in, take little steps. Let the wheels do all the work, right? Little baby penguin steps. Once you're comfortable with your penguin steps, the next one in the progression is bubbles. But making sure your legs don't go too far out that you can't pull them back in. You still want to challenge yourself because you want to build up that thigh muscle to be able to do other things. Okay, I got my bubbles. What's next? What's next? Got you. Cross over. Hyperextend those crosses. Instead of just going here in the middle, you want to follow it through. Here, follow it through, out, and then other foot comes in front. There's some things you could do with backward skating once you get really good at it. It looks super, super steezy at the skating rink. Et bon, j'ai fini. Bientôt, mes amis. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you guys have any questions, don't be afraid to let me know. I'm here as a resource, and I hope you guys have a beautiful, beautiful day.